Now, elsewhere, millions of people in the UK are believed to be hoarders, but just a small fraction of those affected ever get the help they need. Well, in York, a community group is helping people declutter, and it has recently been awarded £400,000 to continue their vital work, as our reporter Kathy Killick has been finding out.
Yeah.
So, Alice is just going to start putting newspapers in, yeah?
Yeah.
So are we all right just putting the newspapers in?
listen, yeah.
Nothing in the newspapers?
No, I think there's
No? Happy with that?
Yeah.
It should be his lounge, but the rooms in John Wilson's house have become unrecognisable, submerged in clutter and rubbish.
Tai Chi. By seeing my lovely mush once a fortnight, you know, we're going to keep on top of it, aren't we?
Now, with help from Michaela and Alice at Community Bees, the house is slowly being cleared.
The company works with the most isolated and loneliest of people, and that is people that are hoarders mainly.
And I want to write a book.
You want to write a book?
I listened to her talk, and she listened, and she didn't try to control you. She let you talk and go through it, and that's worked for me more than people saying, "Oh, we can clear it in a couple of days."
Hoarding is a complex condition. John buys newspapers he never reads and cuddly toys that stay in their boxes. It started after his mother died. Due to a mix-up, John didn't get to the hospital in time.
I lost a bit of focus in that because I thought, you know, my mother and father, we were a very close family. I was there for my dad dying, but not my mother, and I should have been there because I promised my dad to look after my mum. And that was part of a thing of punishing yourself and never forgiving yourself.
With us working on a one-to-one, very slowly, understanding and letting them talk if they want to talk. We don't ask questions. That's entirely up to them if they want to talk. And having a laugh with them as we go, it works.
John is slowly changing his mindset and feels optimistic that he can get better with support.
Just put these in the drive.
And lottery money given to Community Bees will let them help others trapped by possessions they neither need nor want. Kathy Killick, BBC News.
So let's talk now to Ian Porter, who's a psychologist from Hoarders Helping Hoarders, which is a network of support groups for people who are living with the condition. Ian, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Let's start, first of all, with how you define who is a hoarder, because a lot of people might think, I've got a lot of stuff. Is it a problem? What makes people a hoarder?
I think if I start off, I use an example of Tracy, your floor manager, just spoke to me before. I won't out her too much, but she was saying that she had a lot of a particular category of items, and having a lot of stuff isn't against the law. And it's not a problem unless it stops you from doing something. So it interferes with your functionality. The other thing too, Ben, is that hoarding isn't about what you've got in your home, it's about what you've got in your head.
Right.
So the additional issues that come with someone who exhibits hoarding behaviours are to do with, you know, extreme emotional attachment, a fear of, you know, loss, trying to avoid harm. If I get rid of this, it will cause harm to somebody.
Right. And when you say, you know, you're a hoarder, if it's stopping you doing stuff, is that getting out of the house, having people over to the house maybe for a cup of tea, being able to just use the house in the way it's intended? Is that what you would define as someone who has a problem with it?
It's all of those, both the social and the functional aspects of life. But also those things are part of the collateral damage that happens over time. So the idea that, you know, you can't invite people into your own home, and that leads to further isolation, self-stigma, because this is a hugely stigmatised issue, nationally anyway.
Yeah. And by its very nature, one assumes quite hidden because it's within the four walls of your own home, and unless people are invited into the house, they might not even know someone's suffering with it.
Yeah, exactly. When we organised the first North West Regional Conference in 2022, this is the logo from this year's. We call it Hoarding Unplugged and Unleashed. But the first hoarding conference was called Behind Closed Doors for that reason.
Yeah, and I guess like all mental health, you know, challenges, it's about talking about it, acknowledging that you've got a problem, and then seeking help. And I think it's interesting that it's not just the physical manifestation, it's what's in here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the pathways to hoarding are many and complex, and it's the only mental health disorder that requires a community-based intervention. Okay. Now, that's key. You know, I'm watching the film The Community Bees, and I'm thinking, welcome support. What's next? how do we assimilate that, have that embedded within to the current systems, rather than it just being a discrete project that's funded on a one-off basis.
And the thing that struck me about that report as well was that this wasn't people going in and saying, look, I'm just going to clear it all out, get rid of all this stuff, you don't need it. It was about understanding why that person had felt the need to keep it.
Yeah.
And then working on that element of sort of detachment from it and saying, actually, you can get rid of it and you'll be okay.
Yeah, and that's key for us, because one of the mantras is that you see the person, not the hoard. Always. The people who exhibit hoarding behaviours often think that they define themselves by their hoard. You see the person, not the hoard in the first instance. Don't ask when people are ready what's wrong with you. Ask what happened to you.
And if someone's watching this morning and they're worried about a relative, and it often, not always, but it often tends to be slightly older people, doesn't it, as well, that maybe the problem has got worse.
It's interesting, that one, Ben. We've just literally looked at an age profile across our Northwest network. We're supporting over maybe 200 people. About 140 odd gave us their ages, and we basically have 25% 50 and below, 75% 51 and above.
It's significant, isn't it? Thank you. Really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you for coming in. And, yeah, a good place to get help if anyone is worried about a relative. Thanks very much.